and welcome to the second weekly walkthrough brought to you by Red Gaming Tech. I am the Kid, and I'm bringing you my top 5 picks of the past week's news. So at number 5, the GTA 5 PC release has spawned a petition which is currently at 215,000 signatories. Rockstar have yet to release any information as to whether there's going to be a PC release of the game. This is similar to what happened with GTA 4 and a lot of the previous GTAs. They haven't had PC releases at the time of the console release, and the PC releases always come some months later, sometimes years later. So there's a lot of people currently petitioning for GTA 5 to get some information on whether GTA 5 will be coming to the PC and when. So obviously there's a lot of interest in that. We've got nearly 250,000 people currently petitioning for Rockstar to give some information on when that game is going to be available on PC. I personally am keen to get some information on when that's going to be coming out, as I tend to play GTA games on the PC. I have pre-ordered GTA 5 for Xbox 360, as obviously I want to play it when it comes out. But when the PC version does arrive, I will be buying that to mess around with mods. And I don't know, I just find those games easier to play on a PC. Like I'm currently playing, on a side note, I'm currently playing through GTA San Andreas on PC at the moment. I swear that game is considerably easier to play on a PC. Just the control scheme is a lot better. I'm just not into the whole like gamepad thing. They just don't agree with my hands. Maybe it's because I'm a pianist. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to be keenly awaiting information on when that's going to come out. I'm sure we'll keep you updated on that as and when we know. But as far as Rockstar go, so far they haven't released any information and have stated that they don't have anything to say as of yet on when there will be a PC version of the game. So at number 4 this week, Take-Two have renewed their trademarks on the Agent IP. For those unfamiliar, Agent is continuing with the Rockstar theme. Agent is a game that was announced by Rockstar back some years ago, maybe nearly 6 years ago now, in around 2007, as a new IP. At the time, it was announced as for PlayStation 3. Since that point, they haven't really said much on the topic. Agent is a Cold War espionage game, kind of an open. It's in the same vein as GTA and Red Dead Redemption, kind of an open world type thing, kind of in Rockstar's kind of trademark style. But yeah, since the announcement, they haven't released a lot of information. There's been a few screenshots here and there and kind of concept art and things like that, but they haven't provided any solid information. They kind of went silent pretty much right after the announcement. So with the announcement of the PlayStation 4, there was speculation that the game would be ported over, well, not ported over, but transferred to be a PlayStation 4 game. But with the announcement, just this month, in fact in the last week, as this is the weekly walkthrough, Take-Two have renewed their trademarks on the IP, which means that hopefully we'll be getting some information on that soon. Obviously, it confirms that there are at least plans to actually release this game. Whether or not it's actually in production at the moment, what with GTA 5 going on, we don't know. Take-Two and Rockstar have said that they don't have anything to say about the status of the game at the moment. So we're going to be playing a waiting game on that, but it does at least give some kind of idea that they have plans for that game. Well, whether or not it'll be a PlayStation 3 release or a PlayStation 4 release, that's yet to be seen. Coming in at number 3, Saints Row 4 has been resubmitted for classification in Australia. The game was actually refused a certificate at its first submission a few months back. Mainly it wasn't really a matter of the violence in the game per se. It was more the kind of drug references, and for people familiar with Saints Row 4, it doesn't really come as much as a surprise that it was quite controversial in Australia. It was only a year to 2 years ago that Australia introduced a mature rating for games, which allowed a lot of games that had previously been banned in quotes to see a release in Australia. And then within the last month or so, there's been a kind of a whole run of games that have been refused classification, Saints Row 4 being one of them. They have made some adjustments to the Australian release of the game. As for what's been taken out, it's nobody's really sure at the moment. I'm presuming they're going to remove some of the more kind of drug-related stuff, maybe tone down the violence a bit. And it has been resubmitted for classification. As for whether it's been granted a mature rating, we don't know yet. So it does kind of show that they are willing to make some, rather than just allow the game to go unreleased in Australia, they are willing to kind of tailor it to the the rules that are in place in Australia for video games. So we'll be waiting to see what the result of that resubmission is, and we will bring you the result as soon as we find out. I'm hoping it gets released there. It most likely will get a mature rating. It's going to have a mature rating everywhere else. But it would be kind of a shame if Australians weren't allowed to experience Saints Row 4 in any capacity. I mean, it's kind of a shame that the game has to be trimmed down to get a release there, but, it's better than nothing. And, I'm pretty sure most, people in Australia who are really into games and stuff probably have figured out a way by now to get the international versions of the game and have run them in Australia. But I'm not sure what the legality of that is. So I'm going to say I wouldn't condone that completely. So at number 2, The Last of Us, unsurprisingly, topped the US sales charts for June. Last of Us was a game that I didn't buy at release, but then after spoilers kept popping up everywhere on the internet, I just kind of thought, yeah, I'm going to have to buy this and play it. It was absolutely fantastic. I'm not going to give away any spoilers. I'm not going to say anything about the story, but it's probably in the running for my game of the year. That's a contentious point. It's kind of tying with BioShock Infinite at the moment, but that's just a personal thing. So yeah, it did top the US sales charts for the month of June. As for what the actual sales figures were, I didn't find that information because I'm a little bit lazy. Yeah, I'm kind of unsurprised that it did top the charts. I mean, it's the amount of hype and kind of, community, I don't even know what word I'm looking for here. But the amount of hype around that game was massive. Everyone was talking about it. People were like, in my local game store, one of the staff traded in, I think he said 50 360 games just to buy a PS3 in that one game. And according to him, it was worth it. As to whether it was that good, yeah, it was pretty damn good, but I'm not sure I'd want to trade that much for it. But, to each their own. So yeah, if you haven't played that yet, I'd highly recommend if you have a PS3, try and get hold of it. Maybe if your friend's got it, borrow it off them, or go and buy it. It's still on sale. I believe it's probably still full price. But if you can get your hands on it and play through that, that's definitely worth doing. And at number 1, my top pick of the last week's news, Wasteland 2 has been delayed, but the beta will be starting in October. So Wasteland was a game in released in 1988. You can still get it now and play it on DOSBox and things like that, or there's conversions of it to run on newer machines. At the time, it was a pretty revolutionary game. It's kind of considered the forerunners to the Fallout series. It is very, very similar in its mechanics to Fallout. Obviously, graphically, being 1988, it's very, very, very basic in terms of its graphics. And it's it's a little bit buggy and clunky and stuff, but, games back then were. So it gained kind of a cult following over the years. It's kind of a precursor to the Fallout series. And there's been people for years since wanting to see a Wasteland 2 and to see the series revived. And it did reappear as a Kickstarter-funded indie project a few years ago. I'm not sure exactly when. And it was slated for release this year. Unfortunately, it has been delayed for a little while. They will be starting a beta in October, which is cool. I'm not sure whether that's an open beta or a closed beta, but that's definitely progress. The game will be coming out probably early next year now. So as for what style of game it is, I'm guessing they've probably taken some inspiration from the newer Fallout games. I mean, the original Wasteland was very similar to the early kind of isometric Fallout games, Fallout 1 and 2, and was it Fallout Tactics? I forget what that one was called. So I'm presuming it's going to be similar to Fallout 3 and New Vegas in its gameplay style. So the beta will be starting in October, so I'm going to be keeping an eye out on the news on that one for when the actual release date is announced. They haven't said anything as of yet, aside from the beta starting in October. I believe the Kickstarter is now closed, and it did spectacularly well. They raised a hell of a lot of money, obviously enough to fund the game to be made. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that, and I'm sure I'll be bringing you a review of that game once it is finally released. So that was your weekly walkthrough with me, the Kid. That was my top 5 picks of the week's news. So this has been brought to you by Red Gaming Tech. If you would like to hear more of me in a group context, head over to gameoveryear.libsyn.com for this week's Game Over Year podcast. I've been the Kid, and I will see you next week here on Red Gaming Tech.